Hi everybody, welcome back to the Salimi Kitchen. What we're doing tonight, we're gonna clean a tenderloin piece of meat, which is known as a filet mignon. So we got a whole piece of tenderloin that I'm gonna do is take it out, I'm gonna clean it, and then I want to show you how to cut some steaks and some of them for other trimmings that we use for different kinds of dishes, like you can do kebabs, or you can also do like a beef stroganoff, or you can do a zillion other things with it. So initially what we're going to do, we got that piece of meat, and you definitely need something kind of sharp knife to take it out from the plastic bag. And what you're going to end up with, this. So what we're gonna do is take a paper towel and just soak all that blood out of that, the juice, and this is what you're gonna end up with right there. After that, now we're gonna clean it. What I mean by clean it, if you look at it right now, and we start taking, there's a silver, there's a little fatty stuff up here. This is that we need to clean it and peel it off, okay? Sometimes you go to a store or a meat market, you'll have something, what they call already peeled, or something you peel it yourself. But of course, when you buy something that's already peeled, you're paying for somebody to peel it for you. In the meantime, you can do it yourself if you want to peel it. It doesn't cost you anything. It's really simple. Make sure you have a sharp knife and start cutting into that little fatty stuff, as you can see. See that? Nice, huh? And you take that one piece off. You set it aside. Now I'm going to show you something they call the chain. And the chain is a piece of meat that goes along the side of the tenderloin. You take that piece, and I'm going to show you later on how to clean that and what you can do with it, okay? Okay, we're going to set it aside back here. You see all that here? All needs to be taken out. Okay, I'll get to this piece a little bit. Now what we need to do is take the silver off. See the little piece of gristle back here? If you don't take that piece off when you cut into steaks and you bite into it, it's going to be gristly. It's not going to be really tender, okay? So it's easy how you do that. You get a little slit in the end of it here. Put your finger down here, put your knife back, pull, against that, voila, and that comes off. And just keep repeating the process. You throw that away until to get rid of all that. Okay. It really doesn't take long. Just take a little bit of good sharp knife. Again, you do repeat the same process. Put your finger in. Remember, put your finger in, put a knife, and pull, and get that sharp edge. Okay. Take all that out. And then, basically, you just go around and cut all the fatty stuff off. And there's one more piece here. As you can see, same kind of scenario. Just work it. Okay. Just be a little patient. Sometimes take a little time. Now you turn it over. As you can tell, you still have a lot of the fat. You trim all the fat off. And you see all these edges down here. This part of the chain fat, you take your knife and you cut into that. Just keep cleaning it. Okay, you leave some of the marble. This is fine. This is really good. What you don't want is this. Okay? And you see that. You don't want that. But you see a little of that fat in here? This is perfectly fine. Just a little gristle in the middle here and down below. Just keep cutting the fat. Keep trimming it. Be patient. Okay? Can you see that?
By the time you've cut so much off, is there really much of a savings by doing this yourself?
Always. Always. There's quite a bit of saving in there, there's no doubt about it.
Because that's a lot you cut off.
Well, yeah, but by the time you are paying, you know, for somebody to do it, it's got, I mean, basically you're doing is paying somebody to do that job for you. Is it worth it? Yeah, it is worth it. To me it is. If you're gonna save a lot of money, so again, take all the silver off. You see that's part of the chain, that needs to come off. It really is not bad at all. Okay. See, I told you I'm gonna show you how to do the chain, which is like along the side. You're gonna find some of that little knots back here on the side of it. So what you need to do, take that knot off, one by one. And that's a beautiful piece of meat, really. It's all piece of that tenderloin. And this is something also you can do if you don't want to cook it the whole thing. You can put it on the barbecue, or you can also cut it into cubes. You make kebabs with it, or you can put it also for beef stroganoff or whatever beef dish you're making. So you're gonna end up with something like that. Just basically cut all the gristle, the fat into that. Okay. And that's what you're gonna end up with. You can also leave that if you want to be attached to the tenderloin. It'll be like this. And then when you cut it into steaks, it'll be part of the steak. And most restaurants, sometimes you go to places, or even meat shop, you will see there's still this little piece hanging out on the side of it. So it's personal preference of how you want to do with it. But this is a beautiful piece of meat, look at that. Okay, you can take the whole piece and season it and throw it on the barbecue. It'll be perfect. Okay? Okay, now this is what I end up with. If you recall, when I showed you before, and after I got it all cleaned up, and that's what you end up with, a beautiful piece of meat right now. Now I'm gonna do, if you notice, if you come close back here and look, this is, you can't cut any steaks of it. Otherwise it'd be like a thin, really steak, right? So you get up to the point where when you start cutting steaks, okay, you set that aside. Now, you got a nice round piece of meat where you cut steaks out of it. Really simple. You can count however weight you want. Normally I cut them for home use, so you can do it 6-7 ounces, or you can go up to 10 ounces if you want. So you cut all the steaks, so you can see. Look at that, isn't that beautiful? All right. And you keep cutting them. All right, now you can also cut all the way down to here. And I'm gonna show you. You can cut those steaks in here too, all the way to the end if you want, right? But tonight I'm gonna make kebabs, so I'm gonna use this end of it here and that end and that piece over here to make the kebab, and I'm gonna show you how to do that. Okay? Okay, now after I cut and then there'll be a little tail end left of it, of the fillet. Remember I told you about the middle, and you get to the tail end of it, it's kind of a little thick, so you can either cut them that big, or I can cut more steaks, but tonight I'm gonna say like I'm gonna make kebab. So I cut them into strips, as you can see. As well, that piece was at the, if you remember, it was like this here at the tail, at the end of it. So I take it and cut it into long strips, and I make cubes, bite sizes basically. Okay. I do the whole thing. Okay. Okay. So after I cut all the strips into cubes, that's what you're gonna end up with. Okay? So if you really think about it, if you go out and buy a whole tenderloin and do that process, you're gonna get 12 meals out of it, which is perfect. I mean, if you divide the amount of what you pay for the whole tenderloin and get 12 meals out of it here, each one of those primed piece of beautiful filet mignon, it's gonna cost you probably about $6 to $7 a piece, which is excellent. So yes, you are saving a lot of money versus if you were to go have somebody else trim it and cut it for you. You're gonna end up with the same amount of meat, but each one is gonna cost you about 10 to 12 bucks. So there is a lot of savings if you would do it yourself, okay?
If you were to buy the tips, isn't that usually a mixture of different cuts of beef and whatever they have left over?
Well, it is, but they have all kinds of cuts of meats. You got some tenderloin, you got some top sirloin, some chain. So it's not pure tenderloin. So you're gonna get meats, you know, some bites of it is gonna be really tough, some is gonna be really tenderloin. You know, so you can, but I won't recommend it. If I wanna use those already bought, cut for you in pieces, they use them for stew meat and so forth, that's exactly what I would do. I would use it for stew meat or vegetable beef soup or something of that sort. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take all these meats that are cube meat, put them in a bowl, like so. Okay, now you gotta remember something. This is a beautiful piece of meat. When I wanna do a little sort of a marinade for it, really simple, because you really don't want to take away from the flavor and the good piece of meat, you know, unless you're gonna do some sauce or something else. It's a totally different thing, okay? So basically, you've got your meat in here. It's a really simple process. Put some salt. Okay. Sprinkle a little salt, probably about a tablespoon. This meal is basically for 5 people. I'm doing kebabs. And some little ground black pepper, same scenario. And olive oil, okay?
How many pounds of meat do you think you have in their bowl?
I have probably about a little bit over 2.5 pounds. And now what I do, I just kind of mix it well together. And that stuff you can do, if you want to do it, you can do it a day or 2 or 3 days ahead of time, as long as you keep it covered and refrigerated. Okay? Or you can do it if you want to eat it right away, you can still do it. If you do it in a couple hours, you can, but it's totally perfect if you want to do it 2 or 3 days ahead of time. And that's what you're going to end up with. Okay, now we got everything done. The meat is prepped and seasoned and all that. So I want to show you how to skewer that. I normally use just tomatoes and onions. I don't use anything else. You can, but I don't recommend it. All right, so we start with a little onion here to start with. And you take a piece of meat. And
So that's a white onion you like to use.
this is a white sweet onion, yeah.
And why don't you peel all the peeling off the outside?
Well, it looks good when it's done. So you skewer that. Tomato. Piece of meat.
You cut both the tomato and onion in pretty good sized wedges.
Right. Another piece of meat. You want to make sure the meat is firm and spaced. You don't want it too tight, simply because so you cook a little better. Okay, finish it with a little piece of tomato, and voila. And just basically, just repeat the process. Okay. Do it again. Take a piece of, we don't want this here. Okay. See how sometimes the fly like this? You don't want to put it in the middle, so it'll be floppy. So what you want to do is get the skewer right through it, so it'll be nice and firm. All right? See how that pays? Because it's toward the end of the tenderloin, so you just basically skew it in a fashion that is nice and firm. Okay? Do this thing again. Another piece of meat in there. A little onion. Another piece of meat. And a little tomato. Okay, and let's just repeat the process until you get done to all the meat. Alrighty?
Okay, here's the meat all skewered. This is how it looks before it goes on the barbecue.
Okay, now we got that stuff ready to go and get the barbecue really nice and hot. Let's put these babies on. Oh, don't these look beautiful?
Those are gonna be so good. Okay, let's let them cook.
We just have to let them cook and just keep turning them. And that's how it's supposed to look like. Bon appetit, everybody.
So Charlie, how'd you like the kebabs?
They were awesome.
How were the kebabs, Joe?
If I was on death row, they would be my last meal.